does this guy, because what was it? The Block, crypto reporting agency or crypto reporting newspaper, the CEO just resigned because they have been receiving money as donations from him. And someone tweeted out and says, does he just give money to everybody? Coffeezilla did. And
Yes.
I said, well, that sounds kind of funny, because you know who that reminds me of? Tom Girardi, who gave favors, and it gained remarkable influence and power via threats, to the point where he had 150 bar complaints before anyone opened an investigation on this guy. You want to talk about power? That's power. Being able to avoid investigation. Go ahead, Ian.
I just want to mention that this is from my Scotch Advent calendar, and what came up is Aaron 10-year, which happens to be my favorite Scotch.
Fantastic. Nice. So,
Scott, yes, I am in a spaceship.
Yes, he is. What was interesting was Tom Girardi made me think of Tom Girardi. Like it was the perfect comparison. The person who spent money like crazy for the purpose of gaining insulation or gaining protection. It's like mob money. It really is kind of scary. He spent so much money gaining protection from everybody, whether it was superstars. Reportedly this week, he offered Tay-Tay $100 million to advertise for his company. She turned that down because...
Sorry, that was reported this week, but it was from before stuff went bad, right?
Yeah, it was before stuff went bad. Yeah, it was from last year. And he was like, give Tay-Tay $100 million to go out and report. So, sure. Yeah. So it sounded like Tom Girardi. And what was funny about that, and this is the great segue, because a lawsuit was filed this week on Monday by one of the same people that's involved in calling Tom Girardi on his bullshit. And that would be Jay Edelson. And people were asking me when I said this on Twitter earlier, you mean the same Jay Edelson from the Girardi stuff? The very same. Jay Edelson filed a class action this week on Monday against Sam Bankman-Fried personally, because FTX is in bankruptcy. You can't sue an entity while they're in bankruptcy. He filed this lawsuit on behalf of Michael Elliott Jessup, individually on behalf of others similarly situated. So it's a class action. So he's not yet at certification of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And he filed the lawsuit against Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison.
You just got really robotic. I don't know if it's me.
I don't know.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay, it's on my end then.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, it's real bad. I don't know what's going on.
It sounds fine to me.
Potter probably bit the Ethernet cable.
God, don't. I hope not.
Okay.
Don't even joke.
Lawsuit was filed against Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, Nishad Singh, Gary Wang, and Sam Trabucco. Now, for those of you who have not been following this, these are the core five. These are the individuals that he viewed as being his trusted advisors.
Is Caroline his ex-girlfriend or whatever it was?
That's the ex-girlfriend who was the CEO of Alameda Research.
Yeah.
Okay. And Ian, we have you back. Can you hear us?
Sadly, I'm still getting robot noises. I was hoping I could drop out and come back, but...
It'll correct itself. Just allow it to happen. We can hear you just fine. You're not breaking up at all. So read along and enjoy the show. Plaintiff Michael Elliott Jessup, individually and on behalf of a proposed class, brings his class action complaint against defendants Sam Bankman-Fried, Caroline Ellison, Nishad Singh, Gary Wang, and Sam Trabucco. Plaintiff alleges as follows: upon personal knowledge as to himself and his own acts and experiences, and to all other matters upon information and belief. And here's why I kind of like this, because this gives a good synopsis. So we're going to walk through this for anyone who doesn't know what the FTX stuff is about. This is great because this is a factual depiction in terms of a lawsuit, which is teaching a judge from no knowledge to you need to understand this. Nature of the action. In just over a decade, the crypto market has become a trillion-dollar industry. These new forms of digital assets and currencies are unlike any form of traditional financial instruments. They are not issued by any governments, not regulated by any central authorities, and essentially any person with specialized hardware and computer software could create them. Young people throughout the world raced to buy crypto in hopes that this new form of internet money could make them rich, and for many, it did. But crypto remained a mystery for most, especially bigger financial institutions and governments. Crypto needed a proper spokesperson who could convince society that cryptocurrencies were smart, stable, and safe investments. That's where defendant Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, came in, a then 20-something-year-old, self-promoted, eccentric genius. In 2019, defendant SBF launched a cryptocurrency exchange called FTX, where users could buy and sell crypto and exchange them for traditional currencies like United States dollars. SBF successfully convinced millions of users, hedge funds, regulators, and other major institutions that he was the new era of crypto and that they should believe in him and invest in his platform. And it worked. At its peak, FTX became one of the largest crypto exchanges in the world, valued at over 32 billion with a B, with its logo adorning everything from Formula One race cars to a Miami basketball arena. You guys heard me talk about that 2 weeks ago. Not even 30 years old at this point, SBF has become the leader of one of the biggest crypto markets in the world, a celebrated philanthropist worth an estimated 26 billion, now reduced, and a major political donor who quickly became a power player in Washington. But all of this was a mirage that came crashing down on November 11th of 2022 when FTX abruptly filed for bankruptcy. Overnight, billions of dollars belonging to the plaintiff and to the class evaporated. Users could no longer withdraw the crypto or money. While SBF had been publicly trying to convince users everything was fine, in reality, it was not. The days following FTX's collapse revealed that it was not the traditional crypto market volatility or instability that tanked FTX, but rather one of the most spectacular financial frauds since Bernie Madoff, deliberately carried out by SBF and his inner circle at FTX and Alameda Research. Defendants Caroline Ellison, Nishad Singh, Gary Wang, and Sam Trabucco. Together, the inner circle. As explained in more detail below, SBF tricked people into thinking FTX was worth far more than it was and essentially used FTX and his customers' deposits in particular as his personal slush fund. First, SBF effectively paid investors, employers, and vendors share of the company in his own cryptocurrency, FTT, which he controlled and inflated the value of, and loaned out FTX customer deposits to his parenthetical, supposedly separate crypto hedge fund, Alameda Research. SBF had even written a secret backdoor into FTX's code that allowed him to siphon off customer deposits and move them to Alameda, where he could cover Alameda's major trading losses. He also regularly used FTX's assets to fund his own personal investments, like his $500 million investment into Robinhood, purchase of $300 million worth of real estate, and become the second most prolific finder of political candidates after George Soros, funder of political candidates after George Soros. In the end, SBF was not the altruistic savior to the crypto industry that he held himself out to be. He instead chose to capitalize on the lack of effective regulatory oversight of the crypto market and defraud his customers out of billions of dollars. Plaintiff Jessup is just one customer who had crypto invested in FTX and who has lost money as a result of defendant's conduct. Accordingly, Jessup brings this suit on behalf of himself and all others similarly situated to seek both monetary and equitable relief for defendants' deceptive and unlawful conduct. Okay, good pausing point. Did you all follow where that went?
Yeah. It's basically the basic facts of the case as we understand it. That's roughly correct.
Money
I'm
went
going to
in.
be right back. The roboting is getting real bad, so I'll be
That's
right
fine.
back.
Okay. Money went in. Money went in. You didn't see it after it went in. Rather, you saw it on the front end, but you didn't see what was happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
FTT was something that was just created by him, and he controlled the value of that and what it was worth. Traded off of it, and your dollar, which was a dollar when it started there, you still saw it as a dollar, but it lost substantial value in the process. And what you didn't really see in here, which is something I kind of wanted to bring attention to, this whole $300 million worth of real estate. Now, Kurt, I don't know if you knew this. Did you know that Sam Bankman-Fried's parents are professors at Stanford Law?
Well, I knew they were compliance lawyers because Kenneth Leary told me so.
Kevin O'Leary. Yes, he did. Did you know that they were professors at Stanford?
I did not know that. So there's some more professors at Stanford. Aren't they supposed to be one of the best law schools in the country, along with Dauber? They got some real choice people over there.
Yep.
Rob, I'm thinking we should start our own law school because it can't possibly get any worse at this point.
I just realized that, yeah. And I just realized that my name was Lord Law and Lumber from a joke that I had during Trials of the Century. Cool.
Excellent.
I love that. It was fun. But yeah, they are professors at Stanford Law. And his father is not just a professor at Stanford Law, but apparently one of the preeminent tax experts in the U.S. Well, would it surprise you to know that his parents were employed by FTX to help set up corporate structure?
It would surprise me actually a little bit at this point, to be honest. Yes.
Would it surprise you to know that his parents somehow ended up with a $16.4 million property titled in their names?
Okay.
Purchased by FTX's assets?
Okay.
And that their explanation for the titling of that $16.4 million quote unquote on property records vacation home, that Sam Bankman-Fried has no idea how that transaction played out. No clue. The CEO of FTX doesn't know how $16.4 million of FTX assets went to purchase a home for his parents titled in their name with FTX assets. Yeah. I think the chat can visibly see and hear you becoming uncomfortable.
Questions?
How about this question?
The compliance lawyers at Stanford. I think I'm still back with my comment from 2 minutes ago about, along with Dauber, what is going on at Stanford Law.
Yeah.
I think I'm still back in that comment. These are two compliance lawyers, and along with Dauber, it's like, what am I doing wrong in my life that I'm not a professor? Stanford is considered the third best law school in the country. Yale, Harvard, Stanford.
It was.
And so, like, what am I doing wrong in my life that I'm not a professor at one of these schools, Rob? That's what the question I'm asking myself right now.
I don't know. Give me a Stanford lawyer in court any day. I'll kick their ass. I'll be happy to.
Apparently.
Ian says that he's happy he can hear us. You can hear us, Ian.
I can hear you. And Kurt, the reason why you're not a Stanford lawyer is you have ethics. Or a Stanford professor.
Oh, God. Ian comes in with one and just drops the mic and says that, Kurt, you have ethics, and Stanford professors, maybe they don't have those things.
I'm so confused. It's like how have I done wrong in my life?
No, this gets worse. This gets so much worse before it gets better.
Oh,
it gets worse.
Stanford just keeps landing in the shit right now.
So Sam Bankman-Fried's dad is one of the preeminent tax attorneys in the entire country and teaches law at Stanford, preeminently tax law, and has a property that was purchased with corporate assets at the time when his parents were employees of the corporation, that is then titled in their name. Can you guys start to see any tax possible motivations behind this? And I'm not asking for tax law analysis, but I'm saying, isn't this kind of strange? Just a bit.
Well, you take a corporate asset to buy a personal asset,
or an asset for the benefit of one of your employees, hypothetically.
Yeah, which could be viewed as income. So there's
Well, and then here's the other funny thing: the parents are both saying that they, for quite some time, were trying to transfer title of this 16.4, and I keep repeating it, $16.4 million vacation home in the Bahamas back to FTX. So they were trying to give it back. Like FTX,
we're trying very hard.
You screwed up. You totally screwed up, and you gave us this asset, titled it in our name. And
How
we don't
do you
understand
end
how
up
this
with something-
happened. And you,
How do
you
you end
just
up
need
with
to take it
something
back.
titled in your name that you don't know about it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
When
How
I
does
bought
that-
my
how's that?
house, there was so much freaking paperwork.
Uh-huh.
Like, this is not something that you do by accident. Whoops, I got really drunk and I signed a fuck ton of papers.
Yeah, and by the way, it took me that long to get it back to the company. Like, it ends up in your name in a day. Presumably, it could take a day to end up back in the company.
And
And that
file a
would have
quick
been
claim. I'll take care of it real fast.
real fucking fast, right?
Yeah.
Quick claim deed is a one-page deed that says, I hereby quit any claim I have to this property to whom? To this person.
Yeah.
You fucking kidding me?
People are worried about me drinking small glass particles. I've consumed worse.
Oh God, Ian, don't do that on my stream. Don't die on my stream. Rather, don't cut your throat
It's
on my
good
stream.
scotch.
That's fair. Don't waste the scotch. But there are cheesecloth filters. Fantastic. Great stuff.
It broke off in one clean piece. I'm good.
Yeah.
I rinsed it out.
There's nothing about this case, though. Nothing about this case that is
Besides-
anywhere okay. And here's the funny thing. People are raising this issue in the chat, and this is something I have had a big issue with. I'm going to call them corporate media because we've decided to call them corporate media. Why are you covering for this guy? Why? Why are you making every excuse as to how any of this is justified?
Well, he knows the right people and shook the right hands, I guess, is the
Yeah.
right
Tom
answer.
Girardi. Tom fucking Girardi. Here you go. Tom Girardi.
You're taking away my rosy colored vision of America, and you're exposing corruption and seediness, and it's making me very uncomfortable.
He
It's-
kissed
well,
the
it's-
right
it's just-
dongs. That's what it comes
Ouch.
down to.
It really is that sad.
It's the aristocracy versus the bourgeoisie. It's the elites versus the regulars. It's rules for thee, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the corrupt limousine betters versus the rest of
Everybody
us.
else.
And I feel like I'm just like I feel like I've been cheated out of something somehow personally.
Well, because he cheated a lot of people out of it. And the thing is, when we are trying to draw attention, this is the problem. This is gaslighting 101.
Sorry, I just had to step away for a second. Vomit's supposed to be blood colored, right?
Oh God, Ian, say that's a joke. Say it's a joke. Admit it's a joke right now. Do it right now.
Of course it's a joke.
God,
I just wanted to get
don't
another
do
drink and it
that.
was out of reach.
Oh, okay.
I don't like this joke very much.
That wasn't a good joke.
I thought it was.
Yeah, it did. You thought it was funny. All right. So here's the thing.
See, the thing is, Ian, that people actually care about you and they like you.
They really do.
Unlike
And they
me.
No,
I'm not
come
used to
on.
that.
No. Like the entire chat's loved all of this all night long. We're good. This is great. We're good. We're happy. We are happy, except for the fact that corporate media is gaslighting all of us because people invested money, over $1 million. Well, over 1 million people invested money in FTX and with FTX and lost that money. That's no longer there. They don't have it. And they don't have it. And they're looking to Sam Bankman-Fried and they're saying, but you promised us that when we put $1 in, we could pull $1 out. It's what you said. Like $1 is $1, right? Like it's one thing. You weren't supposed to go and take that and invest it. You weren't supposed to go
It's
and
like
take that
trust
and
money.
use it. Yeah, you're supposed to protect it. And you promised us that. And you didn't make that happen. And you're saying you're sorry, but you're not explaining.
You want to see a
anything.
magic trick?
Yeah, just make it ghost. And you're not explaining anything other than saying you're sorry and you're trying to figure it out. That's not how that works. And the problem is that the corporate media is gaslighting everybody and they're making every excuse in the world for this guy. And they're basically saying, you paupers, yes, you lost money, but can't you see that he was He was trying his best. And I keep looking back at Elizabeth Holmes, who quite literally was selling a product that convinced people that they had AIDS and HIV. And he was sitting there saying, this is a real thing. I'm sorry. I don't care. This is not YouTube friendly, but Elizabeth Holmes was sold a product that convinced people that they had this disease that resulted in them taking remarkably harmful chemicals and hurting their own body. And she got up there and said, but, I had so much potential. You are the same. You are the same as the person who sat there on the street and stabbed them in the stomach. There is nothing better than you. Oh,
did you see the interview with the couple that indicated that one of them had HIV, one of them didn't, and that they stopped taking precautions because of that test?
No, I did
Nice.
not.
Yeah, they just figured, okay, well, I got it, so we'll stop taking precautions. And so
Good.
Elizabeth Holmes may well have at least one death under her belt.
That's encouraging information.
It's not. It's really kind of depressing, but it's not intended to be. I am here's the thing. I am trying to do my part to hold this person accountable. Like, that's when people see me go nuts on Twitter, it's because I see other people cutting him slack, and it's like, no, don't do that. No.
Rob, when your Christmas gift arrives, we'll have to revisit this with a particular bit of it.
There are so many things that make me afraid in that sentence.
It's a good gift.
Is it
Ian,
though?
you gave me a hatchet.
Yes, and you like the hatchet.
I do. I love the hatchet, but when you say it's a gift and we have to revisit some of it, I can be concerned. I'm allowed to be concerned at that.
We're all gonna die.
Making a gift for uncivil, and it's a good gift, I think.
Now, I have seen that gift, and I know it's a good gift.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know you don't, which is, it makes it even more fun. Because it's a really cool gift, and you're going to like it a lot. Like, you're actually going to love it. It's going to make you, like, feel the coolest person in the world.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm getting my CNC up and running on Sunday, and I'm going to start batching out gifts on Sunday. So, fingers crossed.
I mean, you can infer some things from it, from the fact that I'm, in my garage where I've, got my leatherwork set up, and I've been handling leatherwork tools all the time, but hopefully not too much.
Yep.
Is it bondage gear?
Oh, God.
Do you want to turn me into?
Yes.
Do you want to turn me into one of your bears?
Oh, no.
Campaign.
For the campaign, for the advertising campaign. We are not Balenciaga. We are not Balenciaga.
Although that is the funniest thing I've heard all day.
That's really that.
I haven't been mistaken for a bear for a while, but hey, let's go for it.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm gonna die.
Yeah, I don't think you want to use bear in this context. That's just.
I know exactly what I'm doing.
No, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing.
I know. I'm just like, ooh, really?
For
that's
shame.
a bold one.
For shame. Okay. All right. Breathe. All right. Oh, God. All right. Back to the lawsuit, because I do want to make it through a substantial portion of this, and it's not that long. Defendants purposely availed themselves of the benefits of the laws of California, conducting business transactions in the state. Jurisdiction, I don't think jurisdiction is the problem here. He reached out and invested everywhere, blah, blah, blah. General allegations, here we go. FTX's backstory. Here is the kind of synopsis. Defendants SBF and Wang co-founded FTX in 2019 as a cryptocurrency exchange. SBF developed the FTX exchange to support all major cryptocurrencies. Leveraged tokens, which means use them to invest based on their value, and facilitate over-the-counter trading. FTX's stated mission, spearheaded by SBF, was to build a crypto exchange with greater consumer protections and better user experiences. FTX.com offered traders outside the US crypto tokens meant to mirror the performance of specific stocks. By 2019, FTX was handling about 1 billion daily trades. $1 billion in daily trades. FTX US, which allows access to US users, also launched equity trading in 2022. By the way, can we appreciate the writing of this by the complaint? It's like straight and to the point, not a lot of wasted words.
Yeah, I like
it. This is well written.
So far, so good. Which you don't really need a lot of complexity at this point.
No, it's not, but it does a good job of boiling it down to a slightly bullet point version, but concise. The company invested millions in ad campaigns and sport and celebrity partnerships to imbue it with a vial of legitimacy. FTX ran a $30 million Super Bowl ad in 2021. Oh, typo, Jay. Sorry, buddy. In 2021, featuring comedian Larry David. It purchased naming rights to the Miami Heat arena. Since been, this is my caveat, since been asked to leave the bankruptcy and foreclose on those rights, along with the naming.
Yep. Larry David in that commercial. Have you seen the commercial?
Yeah,
I have. It's pretty.
He's
funny.
The guy going, "Don't invest in FTX. It's lame.
Yeah,
it's crap."
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
The guy who's right.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, like it's sarcastic, but it's like right.
He's actually like the guy who is correct at the end of the day.
It's like George Costanza's dad. Like it's sometimes right, but you're going, how? Yeah. It purchased, yada, yada, along with naming rights to the University of California, Berkeley's football field for $17.5 million in 2021. Egg on face, University of California. In April of 2022, SBF sat on a stage with Bill Clinton and Tony Blair at an FTX-sponsored crypto conference in the Bahamas. SBF held himself out as a liaison between the crypto world and Congress, and even the White House. On December 8th, 2021, SBF testified in front of the House Financial Services Committee, side note, chaired by Maxine Waters, who was featured in those tweets earlier, as a consumer-friendly, touting FTX as a consumer-friendly, safe investment platform. Quote, FTX has designed and offered a platform. No, it aged terrible. Here you go. This gets better. FTX has designed and offered a platform with a market structure that is risk reducing, he told members of Congress while claiming FTX embraced regulatory oversight. Footnote. Hang on. Footnote.
Risk reducing compared to what? Just incidentally.
Compared to being mugged in an alley.
Jesus, Ian. I'd say you don't. That's fair. All right. Nothing spicy in that footnote. In October of 2021 press release, SBF bragged of being able to partner with investors that prioritize positioning FTX as the world's most transparent and compliant cryptocurrency exchange. Well, that aged even better. That aged even better. The investment in image setting paid off as many customers or consumers were taken in by the ruse. Consumers believed FTX was safer than alternative cryptocurrency exchanges and that there were regulations in place to protect their investments. Oh,
on what basis did people believe that?
Yeah, what the fuck? Like, what? No.
Why did you believe that? Is that cause? Reasons?
Well, because he was promising it, and because big celebrities were out there like Tom Brady with the flamethrower saying invest in crypto.
I'm ready to go play some more football.
Well,
to be fair, that is also like the flamethrower on that one should tell you that this is bullshit because it is the lamest flamethrower out there.
Well, and it also aged great because he's sitting there lighting fire to FTX. Like it just all these things just aged like a glass of milk. It was fantastic. In 2021, FTX was handling around 10% of the $3.4 trillion face value of derivatives traded by crypto investors each month. I want to repeat that. In 2021, FTX was handling around 10% of the $3.4 trillion face value of derivatives traded by crypto investors each month. Do you know how big 10% market share when you're talking about exchanges is? That's huge. Huge. Consumers were not alone in thinking FTX was on the up and up. FTX is one of the fastest growing crypto exchanges in the world. FTX grew from $25 billion in value in October of 2021 to $32 billion valuation by January of 2022. That's a span of 4 months. FTX is small. Oh, that was lawyer math that paid off. October to January. Yes. No, shit, that's 3.
So
Well,
close.
October, November, December, January.
Never
That's
bet
4.
on lawyer math, people.
That's 3. That's 3 or
There's some
4.
period of time.
No, I think I'm right. October, November, December, January. That's 4 months. 4. FTX's smaller United States component, FTX US, reached an $8 billion valuation in January of 2022, raising $400 million in its first external fundraising round. But less than 11 months later, FTX would come crashing down. To help understand SBF and the Inner Circle's scheme, a brief introduction to SBF's supposedly separate hedge fund, Alameda Research, follows. This is the type of drafting that I love. It's literally like, and then there's more. But there's more.
Oh, I mean, the thing is fundamentally a good lawyer is a good storyteller.
This is fantastic.
For sure.
That's quite frankly, right now I'm not in a position to hire like a junior associate, but if I was and somebody was coming in and saying, I want to work for you, I'd be like, okay, tell me a story. And that's the interview. Tell me a story.
There was an Ian Runkle, and he was an elf who lived in the far land of Canada.
Yes.
You know what?
Yes.
I mean, so long as you can grip me with this story, like even just tell me a story of the time you got so drunk you couldn't find your way home. Like this, whatever.
Well, you can't remember those
right?
stories.
Just whatever it is, just tell me a story. This is really good storytelling.
It's good. It literally is. It literally is. But wait, there's more. Let me give you the backstory. Okay. Alameda Research. Before FTX, SBF founded the cryptocurrency hedge fund Alameda Research in his apartment in 2017. Gary Wang, a member of the Inner Circle who became CTO of FTX, co-founded the startup with SBF. The two have long... I need this. I'm going to stop using SBF. I'm going to start using SAM because the acronyms are starting to get confusing. The two have long had ties, beginning with meeting at a math camp in high school and going on to be college roommates. When Alameda was first started, oh, come on. When Alameda first started, they ran the company out of a 3-bedroom apartment in Berkeley. That explains so much. The downstairs, their dedicated office space. When Sam left Alameda to start FTX, he brought Gary Wang and another member of the Inner Circle, Nishad Singh, with him. In 2021, Sam handed over the reins of Alameda to 2 relatively inexperienced traders, defendants Caroline Ellison, his then girlfriend, and Sam Trabucco. Between the two of them, they only had a few years of experience trading in conventional markets. This is literally saying, here, you're a day trader. By the way, here's an exchange / an investment fund in a brand new field that is not regulated. Here, have fun.
And the thing is at the end of the day, Boozy jerks himself off to the idea of being this guy.
Who doesn't?
Those were the words. Those were the words of Ian Runkle, not Rob Morton.
They are endorsed by Rob.
They are endorsed. This gets so much better. Trabucco had a penchant for gambling and bragging about how he applied his gambler's instincts to Alameda's crypto trading. Dude, bad move. Trabucco bragged that he had been banned from multiple casinos for counting cards in blackjack. Double bad move. In a January 2021 Twitter thread.
I got a relative who's banned from casino and in fact banned from the city of Vegas for counting cards.
You are running a hedge fund.
You can't really be banned from the city of Vegas for counting cards. It's not illegal.
You could once upon a time because it wasn't a legal ban. It was, we will have opinions if you return to Vegas, and those opinions end with a discussion in the desert that involves shovels.
The chat is admonishing me / and I'm going to take it one step further. Boozy would never deal in these dollar figures. If you took the B and turned it to like 1,000, maybe.
No, I mean,
So-
this is Boozy's greatest fantasy, is to be dealing with these kinds of dollar figures. And this is, it seems like this is how he rolls. But
Yeah.
this is why it's Boozy's fantasy as opposed to his reality. His reality is that he can't pay his freaking rent.
Get him, Ian. All right. In a January 2021 Twitter thread, Trabuco claimed, quote, bigger is bigger, parenthetical, when betting is better. In both betting and trading, Trabuco encouraged aggressive.
No, it's not. Just I've said this before. I said no, it's not. Bigger increases your risk exposure.
Yes.
I hate to point out the obvious, but when you're betting and you're betting more, you're increasing your risk exposure.
Mm-hmm.
So just that. Okay. Pressing on.
What's funny is the red flags that existed with Sam was he was saying this type of shit the whole time. And people were like, oh, it makes sense because he keeps on winning money. Well, the only reason you keep making money when you're doing these bigger and bigger bets is you have either a cheat or it's a Ponzi scheme. There is no way that you can maintain, or you're the house, in which case you are cheating. Like you literally have the leverage.
I guess it's true.
It's true. You have the advantage, the statistical advantage. Yeah. I mean, Trabuco encouraged aggressive trading and embracing risk as co-CEO of Alameda. The risk-loving strategy ultimately led Alameda to make many bad investments that led to its downfall. In August of 2022, Trabuco abruptly left Alameda, stepping down as co-CEO just before the House of Cards collapsed. SBF claimed there were adequate firewalls between Alameda and FTX. Bullshit. In an August 2022 interview with Bloomberg, SBF stated, quote, Alameda is a wholly separate entity. Bullshit. And claimed, quote, there's different offices, like different principal offices. We don't have any shared personnel. We're also not the same company. Go fuck yourself. That is a lie. That is a complete lie.
For more lies like this, see my videos on GWAX.
Good God. Are you kidding me? Continuing, Ellison made similar misrepresentations in September 2022.
Okay.
Stating,
Can I just ask a bit of a practical question?
Yes.
Because what is the end of the rainbow for this? And maybe there's no good answer to this question because I don't know that these people have any money or that there's what is the solution at the end of this rainbow here?
That there are personal assets that they are entitled to that might be outside the scope of the bankruptcy's trustees to claw back.
And also, SBF dies in a cell around people, surrounded by people who have trouble figuring out a jar.
Well, well, here, Kurt, let me just postulate something. What if, hypothetically, the DOJ maybe was sitting on their hands and didn't want to do very much because maybe, investors. And you, as a civilian, had the ability to file a civil suit and engage in discovery, and through that process made all of that discovery public, which would thereby put pressure on the DOJ with those public disclosures to possibly push harder for criminal charges. You are pursuing something that has no financial reward at the end. You get a judgment, but it's just a piece of paper. But in the process of pursuing that reward, you get to lay out the DOJ's case word for word, document for document, so they can pursue it criminally to the point where they cannot ignore it.
I'm hoping that the end of this is SBF is in jail
forever,
runs this kind of scheme on a jailhouse gang.
Oh, that'll work out well.
And finds out that they really don't have a sense of humor. But what they do have is lots of small, unpleasantly sharp knives.
Pokey thingies.
They have their own exchange.
God. But also true, like really dark
with
true.
Day traders and everything.
Yes, and night traders and day traders and shower traders and.
So this is just a little bit about, I guess, the medical physics of dying in jail.
Why do we have no? Oh, careful.
And that goes like this. Most of the weapons that you find in jail are kind of equivalent to this. Very small and sharp stabbing.
Smaller than that. They're smaller than that.
I mean, often they're just more like this, which is a paintbrush, if you put a sharp end to it.
Yes.
And so what you get, actually, one of the few shows that shows it well is Breaking Bad. And, Breaking Bad, there's that scene where they have to take out several guys in a prison at once. And so you see the guy and they stab repeatedly and sort of moving up as they stab. That's how things are done in jails. Because you have these very fine, sharp implements that are stabbing implements. And you stab repeatedly to just burger somebody is basically what it comes down to. And, each of these holes is fixable, but if you put 60 in somebody, maybe not so much fixable.
For more Jailhouse murder tutorials, please see Uncle of the Bailey.
Well, I mean, this is what it ends up looking like.
Now, if you'd like to dispose of a body, what you need to do.
For more body disposal tutorials, please see Uncivil Law.
So, I mean, I guess this is, people are saying this is dark and fair.
It's true. But anyone,
I mean, people get stabbed with toothbrush ends that have been sharpened. They get stabbed with pencils. They get stabbed with pens.
Now,
they get stabbed with, metal pieces that have been sharpened. Screwdrivers, whatever they can find. It's
It's a paper that have just been made harder.
That is possibly the end.
That's possible. People do it with
Paper mache.
And I see people saying we got to lighten this up. So
we're gonna lighten up.
Paper mache stabbing murders wasn't doing it for you.
You didn't make it like a swan. If it was a swan paper mache that did the murder, the red rum, that we might sure, why not? Even so, a little dark, no problem, no objection.
Well,
it's coming at some point to anybody, and we've got a plague mask. Oh shit!
We've did the white shut portion of the evening. I see. Okay.
Are you working on the straps? Or are you gonna get there? It is. No, that wasn't it. I need this one. I need that. Oh God. Can you speak?
Yep. Can you
hear me? Yes, but I don't know. I don't know if Kirk can speak. It's pretty good. Oh, Ian, you have a play. Oh God. Okay, I'm taking you off screen. That's too good. That's actually.
It's not even my birthday till January.
It's a very good replica.
I'm thinking I'm gonna probably do this. Sell this one as a Dutch auction.
What's a Dutch auction? I just want to hear you say it in a mask.
Basically, I pick a price that is way more than it's worth, and then every so often I knock a little bit off of it, and the first person to say I want it is the person who gets it.
And Lindsay with the dagger. If it didn't look like a ransom video before, it sure does now. Oh my God, Ian, no, I can't. No. And Kurt is gone. And Ian is there. Oh God, Ian, for that, your penance is you have to read the next sentences.
All right.
We left off at Ellison made similar misrepresentations.
All right. Stating we're arm's length and don't get any different treatment from other market makers, but these too were lies. For a period, Wang, Singh, Ellison, and SBF all lived in the same house in the Bahamas. The FTX and Alameda offices in the Bahamas were very nearby. The inner circle was socially and romantically entangled, with Ellison and SBF having dated in the past. Wang, Singh, and Ellison were also on the board of SBF's FTX Foundation. There was nothing arm's length about the relationship between the executives at FTX and Alameda. I feel like they could have said something a little smaller than arms about the length if they're talking about romantically entangled.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And I also feel that they could have gone somewhere with the Wang name. They really should have gone somewhere with that.
Can't do that. That's
on that delightful note, I think I will take my leave because I'm kind of beat. So
FYI
please
to the
make sure
chat.
to check out my channel on civil law. I think I'm about 80, I think I'm about 70 people away from 122,000 subscribers. So I'll push me
FYI.
over the top. And this,
FYI, Kurt was saying that he was tired before Ian put on the mask, and he was telling me behind the scenes, he's like, I'm really tired. And then Ian put on the mask, and it was like, I need sleep. Yeah, Kurt, go to bed, buddy.
Dream of
if you
scary
guys have
masks or
not,
something maybe a little better.
if you have not checked out Kurt's channel, please do. Because here's the thing, Kurt does you're putting out at least a video a day on regular stories that are taking place in law, whether it's a Supreme Court case, whether it's a case out of California, Colorado, anywhere. He's getting this content out, and it's short and digestible content, not to mention the fact that his Supreme Court analysis is probably the best I've ever heard. I'm hoping to be on with him next week.
Oh, yes, we're going to discuss the independent. On a serious topic, we're going to discuss the independent state legislature doctrine and its impact on voting and elections.
You know what?
So
and Kurt and I talked earlier today. You know, there's one interpretation of the Constitution, and I'm not sure that anyone's going to buy this one. So stay tuned. We'll get to that.
Move from mass to independent state legislature doctrine. That's what's going on here on Robin Rumble. Okay, talk to you guys. Bye.
See you, Kurt. God, we almost broke him. We came close.
Where do you think I should start for the mask as a ridiculous price nobody would pay? Because that's where you got to start.
How many hours?
I'm thinking like the weekend.
No, Saturday, how many hours did it take making it? Just give me an idea.
Oh God.
3 weeks?
If I wanted to charge like my hourly rate for it.
Well, no, not that. Just give me an estimate. Give me something. How long did it take you to make it? You've seen my tables. Is it like the time it takes me to make a table?
I think it's like 30 hours. I mean, it's a lot.
Start at 5,000.
All right. And then I'll like knock $50 off each sort of whatever. And then people can, somebody can bite at some point.
No, don't knock it off. Leave it up there.
No, I mean, it's a Dutch auction, right? The way that works is
I don't care. No. We're not knocking money off of it. That's the thing. It's a 5,000 initial bid, because the thing is, if that were being sold as a handcrafted leather piece by an artist that was a leather worker, that would be a $10,000 piece. I think it's probably.
No, I mean, the thing is that a professional leather worker can make that a little faster. That's
Scott,
the kind of thing.
Scott, you just did that to yourself. You did that to yourself. That is 100% your doing. For 5,000 includes a date with Scott Cardinal.
Careful,
where
Scott.
he is not an avatar. Scott, you do know the power that we wield in donations for charity, right? Like, that'll happen. So polish up the shoes. You go on a date. Okay.
Tell you what, I'll start at 5 and then I will drop it periodically.
Guys, don't let him drop it. Okay. But you have to give me, here's the thing, Ian, before you list it for the auction, you have to give me at least 12 hours notice.
All right. I guess notice now.
No, 12 hours from now, like noon tomorrow, You're going to list it?
Yep. I'll put it
All
up.
Right. Other requirement is you have to send me pictures.
Fair. I will take a bunch of
pictures. I get to advertise that.
I will take some exceedingly creepy pictures.
Okay. Don't do that. Don't do that. No Balenciaga pictures. I don't need that crap. Just a mask. Yeah. We're going to auction off. Oh, no. I looked up at the wrong time. Don't do that. It's terrible. Dude, if it's Dutch, here's the thing. If it's Dutch, the chat is fighting me on this, because the Dutch thing, I didn't know the Dutch you had to drop. If you have to drop, you have to start at 10.
All right, I'll start at 10 and then I'll drop. And I mean, it's gonna go well below. I think it's gonna go well below 5. But
You have to set.
I
You have
mean-
to set a rule. You have to give me a rule because you know I'm good at promoting this stuff. If it goes to 10, is it still Stollery?
yeah, still Stollery.
All right, Stollery. So it's still the Stollery Children's Hospital. And you cannot drop more than $100 in an hour.
That's fair. Because I mean, we've got until like Christmas, right? So
Yeah. So you cannot drop it more than $100 in per hour. And you cannot do batch droppings, which means the most that you can drop is $100 in one given time.
yeah, that's fair.
If more than an hour passes, if it's 3 hours later, you can only drop 100, but you cannot drop at a rate that's faster than $100 an hour.
So yeah, no, that's fair. People are asking sort of what it's made of. It's made of a sort of red burgundy leather. I quite like the stuff that I got. I will point out that it's got a couple of defects. I missed a stitch here, and I'm not going to fix it.
Guys, let me point out what Ian considers to be defects.
Oh God, no!
So this is a sample of Ian's leather working. Look at that. That logo was hand carved by Ian into leather and dyed by hand. The intricate detail. Every stitch was hand stitched. And you know what he considers to be the flaw?
Oh, it's the other side.
That he got the stitch too close to the edge. That's
Yeah,
his
and
quote unquote flaw. So,
It's jagged. It's yeah.
and people are saying pull docs off screen. Hang on. No, this one, but this one. People
There
you
you
see
go.
that. So that is so the stitching being close. See that
Look
stitch
at the
down there?
bottom. It's so
Dude.
it's bad.
That is his quote unquote flaw. Find anything wrong with any of that. He is
I
so
can
sad
see
about
it.
that. But look at that was hand carved.
Oh man, I'm embarrassed.
That is hand carved, guys.
It's
Every
good on
letter-
the one side. The other, I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah, no. So when you're looking at this, like, so I want you guys to be very clear when you're looking at that mask. When I post this thing, and for those of you in the chat who are asking where it's going to be, Ian has been doing this on Twitter, and we've been pretty good about retweeting the highest bidder at the point. That's where we've been doing it. So, do you want here? I'm going to zoom. How good's your camera?
Okay. So there's
There
a
you go.
drop stitch over here. It's hard to see on the camera.
God, how are you complaining about any of this?
There's a finishing error on the strap. And this I'm going to fix. This I'm going to go back and dye the inside of this strap. That I can
Yeah.
fix. So
Side
that's
note, the errors to everyone in the chat who already knows this, because there are a lot of makers in the chat. The errors and the flaws, that's the human touch. That's what makes you know it's not made by a machine. So yeah. And that is quite literally one of a kind. One of a kind.
I mean, I followed a pattern to make it, but it's yeah. I also haven't put a maker's mark on it yet. I'm thinking I'll probably put one at the sort of underside of the beak.
Put it on the inside.
Yeah, or on the inside.
I like the inside mark because you can.
Then you can
hone
show it
up.
or not as you wish.
Yeah, hone up an inside part of it. That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
And by
So-
the way, this one right here, Ian, my perfectionist creative soul feels your pain. Does anyone else see it? Nope. Can't you see anything else? Yes. Woodworkers, leather workers, every person who's a maker. Ian has seen my work up close, and I do the same shit.
You do amazing.
I literally will point to every flaw in everything I have done. And Ian's like, I didn't see it. And Ian has seen my stuff up front. I have seen his work up close. It's just that's what you get with artists, especially ADHD artists, especially ADHD artists, because we hyper focus on every freaking flaw. Oh my God.
I basically, whenever I make something, I see it as like a bunch of flaws stitched together. Like,
Yep.
so
All right. Let's get back to this because we'll finish it
Yes.
soon. We're pretty close. So, continuing on, FTX and Alameda had a history of propping each other up even before FTX became embroiled in Alameda's bad bets in 2022. Alameda had loaned FTX money to shelter it from a $1 billion loss after a consumer trade on the exchange blew up. Early in 2021, Alameda took on much of FTX's exposure when a client's leveraged bet on an obscure token broke through the guardrails designed to shield the exchange from sustaining losses when trades went south. So, what this means, every exchange, there's always the risk that everyone will call at one moment. And there are guardrails that prevent trading that pushes the exchange to that limit, where if a call was made, they couldn't have liquidity to cover it. This is what they're talking about. This was yet another example of how Sam and the inner circle used Alameda. Go ahead.
this honestly reminds me, I talked to a guy who used to be a bookie.
It really is.
And the thing is he also basically, he was a bookie, but he used to bet on crooked games because he knew how to make money. And he said that, like, basically the art of bookmaking is you want to create a book such that however the bet goes, like if you're talking about, say, a basketball game, whatever happens in that basketball game, the bookie should make money.
Yeah.
You know, the bookie should never be betting on, and that's really what it sounds like they're talking about here, right? They should never be betting on this.
You never go into your purse. You cannot. You actually cannot. Because if you do, and all bets are called, you are, if you're a bookie, you end up at the bottom of a very deep body of water.
He said basically the way you make money as a bookie betting on other bookies is first, you don't bet more than you can lose because then you end up screwed. But second,
Fix the game.
You watch for moments where sentimentality makes people make bad decisions. Because, for instance, if people love the home team and they hate the away team might be the better team, but people are betting on the home team more because they think they should win. They want them to win. And he's like, that's where you can get some odds advantage.
Yep. Sentimentality or stress. Because the needing to win part.
And he says basically the bookie has to shape their book, their odds based on the numbers. And so even if the bookie thinks the away team is going to be the one that, that wins, he's got to shape it based on the fact that he's got 90% of his bets coming in for the home team. Mm-hmm. And so he's got to, frame it like that. So you can end up with him putting greater odds on the away team, even though he thinks the away team is going to win, just so he doesn't lose money on if the home team wins.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So
continuing on, this was yet another example of how Sam and the inner circle used Alameda and FTX to prop each other up, even while publicly maintaining that the exchange and the hedge fund acted separately. Alameda made more than 150 investments across the crypto industry, including in the now bankrupt crypto broker Voyager Digital. FTX executives also took out billions of dollars in loans from Alameda to fund all manner of activities, from Sam's political contributions, aka more than $100 million in donations, to his purchase of 7.6% stake in Robinhood for $650 million.
If you are donating money to political parties on loans, what the heck?
On loans from an entity that had money based on other persons contributing. He took, this is how this translates. He took your money And he knew he was going to earn it back. But in the interim, he thought his judgment was better than yours. So he invested it in politicians because he knew better than you and was going to advertise and promote politicians that he chose with your money. That is exactly how that translates. There is no other way of looking at this.
And I mean, from the lawyer trust sphere, even if you end up being right, the offense is using the other people's money to do it. Yeah. So, for example, there's a lawyer who got disbarred, and what he did was he took out like $100,000 of client money, took it to the track, won, and put that money back
in. Yep.
3 hours later.
Mm-hmm. But for
the
that
reason
moment,
why he gets disbarred is that
risk.
he had no right to use the other people's money.
Correct.
That way.
That's called stealing.
Yeah.
The second that you take that, and this is what he's been saying publicly that people have ignored. He's like, well, he invested it. Well, when it wasn't yours to invest and you appropriated it to your purposes, didn't mean that you put it in your money, put it in your pocket. When you chose to do with it something that the person who invested it did not expressly tell you to do, you have appropriated it to your own use. You have converted it to your own belonging. That is stealing, period. And to the chat, I want to make sure you guys are still on board here.
And Laura in chat has an excellent question, which is Lawyers and Dragons still going on?
Yes, January.
It is going to start up again in January.
Yes.
And I'm so excited.
Yeah. And thank you guys for the support on that one, because I'm trying to, because people have been expressing to me in various streams that they don't understand the scheme. They don't understand what's going on. And this is what happened with Theranos, with Elizabeth Holmes. People, it was too complex. And this is what happens with a lot of white collar crime. It's too complex and people are like, try to dumb it down. And that's the job of a good attorney. And I think Jay Edelson does a great job in this complaint of making this a way that we can digest it and understand it. So, okay. SBF and the Inner Circles fraud. Sam made sure to get paid at both Alameda and FTX. And by the way, to the chat, this is where it starts to get really interesting. While outwardly claiming to live a frugal lifestyle, Sam once claimed he lived off of $100,000 a year, when in reality he was taking in much more. In October of 2021, FTX raised this gets really good, Ian. You're going to like this part.
I can tell you, I spend less than $100,000 a year.
Yeah. In October of 2021, FTX raised over $420 million from several well-known investors. But instead of making its way to the exchange, $300 million went to Sam himself when he sold his stake in FTX. Mind you, FTX, their value was based on a hypothetical number. This cash out dwarfs the normal amount startup founders award themselves by far. I own my law firm, and I will tell you, I did not cut myself a check for the first year and a half that I owned the law firm.
Yeah, I mean, running a firm, you probably are running it, if you're lucky, scrape even for a long time. And then when the firm starts to not do well, you cannot choose to not pay employees. You pay employees and you don't pay yourself. And that happens more than you would imagine. So for example, COVID almost killed my firm because I had to pay employees. Lots of people.
There was no money coming in. So you don't get to do the Sam Bankman-Fried and just get investors at 420 and say, hey, 300 of that's mine. And I'll give you this stake of a company that's not worth what I said it was worth 6 months ago. All right.
My assistant knew that, like, first on the payroll is the assistant. And if I go hungry, I go hungry, but the assistant never does.
Never. They can't. You don't. That's not.
Yeah. I basically told my assistant, listen, if I'm late on payroll, you should quit because it means that like there is no money at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole PPP, the PPP loan stuff. Yeah. But keep in mind that the self-employed individuals were second and third round of PPP, and even then, not really a lot. Even though FTX, I think I forget what the dollar figure, they had a couple 100,000 in PPP loans. So
yeah,
that didn't happen with me or my firm. No. Okay. But instead of making its way to the exchange, $300 million went to Sam himself when he sold the stake at FTX. Cash out dwarfs the normal amounts startup founders award themselves. Sam attempted to justify this payoff by claiming it was a partial reimbursement for money he spent to buy out Binance's stake in FTX. You don't take your money out. Capital investment is capital investment. It stays in the company until the company has proceeds, not additional capital investors, proceeds to pay you back, period. Instead, this was yet another example of how Sam took money that was meant for the exchange and its customers and used it for himself. Maybe this is also why I'm so insulted by this guy and why I really don't like him. Because, yeah, I think that might be part of it. You don't get to take other people's money and make it your own because your company doesn't have profits to pay you. That's not how that works. Like, here's the thing. I don't regret having my firm. I love my firm. Sometimes it pays me great money. Sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, like COVID, I still would rather work for myself than anybody else because I'm not working 2,600 billable hours in a law firm that kills me. Talk to Rick Hogue about that. It kills your life.
The billables thing is just brutal. Working for yourself is really the way to go, even though it sucks at times, because at the end of the day, it's like you never have a partner leaning over you going, are you really leaving before I do?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like, yeah, I'm just leaving. Work's done today. Goodbye.
And for example, when my dad passed, my law partner, who I have worked with for the 10 years that I've owned my law firm, there were no questions. Yeah, I took the time to spend time with my dad, and the firm kept on. And that is the type of trust that you can have and the type of relationship you can have in a firm that you own and operate with a partner that you trust that you can't have when you're working for big law.
I was at a firm at one point, and I basically spent a day doing pro bono work. I did a file for the cost of gas to drive to and from. So the actual legal work was for nothing.
Yeah.
And I got back and I got called into a meeting to say, do you really think you have a future here if you are going to be spending spending a day on a file for which you're getting no money? And I basically said, you know what? If I keep working here, this is going to happen again because you hired me and this is the kind of crap I do. But at the same time, that was when I started thinking I need an exit plan because I don't want to be held to account for doing the decent thing. And whenever you have a shit day and you're just, because this profession can just drag you down sometimes. There can be so much darkness in this profession. And whenever I'm sort of looking at that, I have moments like that where I say, you know what? I managed to hammer a tiny little spot of light into the universe and screw them. Like, that's it. So that's why, working for yourself is the best way to be, because at the end of the day, you're just, you can make those calls and nobody's going to give you crap about it. Except maybe your accountant.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, dude, it's tough, but it's so rewarding. So cheers to those who do it and cheers to those who continue doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Continuing on. At 30, Sam was briefly worth $26 billion. I like the briefly.
No, he wasn't.
Nice shade. Nice shade. Nice shade thrown in there. Briefly worth 26 billion.
I mean, he wasn't ever. He was worth
It's fictitious
bullshit.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's worth a certain amount of monopoly money.
Oh, I know. It's wild. Alameda Research was reported to have made $1 billion in profit in 2020, and the newly founded FTX was making $350 million in profit off trading fees. These profits played into Sam's effective altruism endgame. Effective altruism, whoa, it gets defined next sentence. Okay. In which he believed himself better situated to solve the world's problems as a billionaire capable of giving away vast sums of. I think that hey, Jay, I have a comment. I would have put quotes around his wealth here. Like, let me reread the sentence with how I would have written it. These profits played into SBF's, quote, effective altruism, end quote, game, in which he believed himself better situated to solve the world's problems as a billionaire capable of giving away vast sums of, quote, his, end quote, wealth. See, I feel like that's just me. And maybe that's Ben Chu speaking, but sure. Sam promised to give away almost all of his money, yet as of March 2021, he had only given away about 0.1% of his fortune. He claimed he would ramp up his giving once he had become more liquid. Really? After you took $300 million from that ramp up? All right.
I mean, I'm fine with him becoming more liquid. Have you seen Caitlin Doty's movie or videos about that?
Different liquid. Nope, we're not doing that.
I got some thoughts.
I know you do. I know. We're not going there. The relationship between FTX and Alameda had always been murky, as described above. In the traditional finance world, there are clear regulations and laws limiting the use of depository funds for trading. In 1933, side note, this is what I have been talking about. The last laws that were passed on this bullshit, which is why I am pissed at Congress when they're trying to sit here and throw stones at people in glass houses. You asshole. In 1933, almost 100 years ago, Congress passed the Glass-Steagall Act, which required that commercial banks refrain from investment banking activities. This was to protect depositors from potential losses caused by banking speculation in stocks. But in the crypto world, no such regulations exist to protect consumer deposits. Gee, I wonder why. Banking and Finance Committee Chair Maxine Waters? You weren't just chairing that committee for I don't know how fucking long. Where is it? Where's the legislation? Where is it? No? Nothing? Silent? Sure.
Yeah, no, she grumpied that one.
The Senate wasn't much better. I mean, I don't care. It's not about political side. It's about, God, you guys are fucking idiots. While it appeared from the outside that Sam was funding his spending and lending in part from his profits made at Alameda, bullshit, in reality, the hedge fund was surviving only because Sam was loaning Alameda billions of dollars of FTX customer deposits. This is a part of the transaction a lot of people don't understand. When people were depositing to FTX, they didn't have a bank account. So you deposited to Alameda, and Alameda transferred the funds to FTX. The problem is that the money showed on the books of Alameda and FTX simultaneously prior to and without verifying a transfer from Alameda to FTX. There was one fictitious dollar there going on. Sam claimed publicly that Alameda, the hedge fund, and FTX, the exchange, were kept separate while banging the owner of Alameda. But this was hardly the case. Sam owned more than half of FTX and almost all of Alameda. The two companies shared office space in Berkeley, California, and both were housed in the Bahamas on the same corporate campus. Sam and Caroline Ellison, CEOs of both entities, shared the same bed. In the Bahamas, Bankman-Fried lived in the same apartment as Alameda CEO Caroline Ellison, along with other roommates. There was a lot of other stuff going on, but we're not going to talk about that because we're not going to shame that kind of stuff. That's actually not what this is about. I don't give a crap about any of that. Do what you're going to do, but don't pretend like you don't know what's going on when you're sharing beds. In the spring of 2022, the crypto market was shaken by its own great recession-like financial crisis. The popular stablecoin, meaning it was supposed to always be worth about $1, Terra USD crashed to 2 cents. Side note, the US DOJ has opened an investigation into SBF for potential manipulation of Terra USD. As one of the owners of that currency, he manipulated the value of it. That's what alleged. That it was always inflated. When it crashed, it wasn't just crashing, it was readjusting to actual market value. More to come. A large crypto hedge fund, Three Arrows Capital, collapsed. Crypto assets prices began to crash, and several crypto companies failed in rapid succession. So for those in the chat struggling to keep up, here's what happens. All of the things that he valued as when he went out to purchase with money that he had borrowed from, well, that were valued high, ended up crashing. So now he's got to come back to you, where he was supposed to have the money that you had invested, and say, no, I didn't invest your money in these crazy things because he never thought they would crash. Kind of that's how it works. Because, just like 2008 real estate. Sam stepped in and began scooping up distressed crypto companies as a lender of last resort because he had to equalize the books. This is where the complex financial transaction starts coming in. He's cooking. This is cooking books. You buy distressed assets because you can, well, that's a whole other stream. I'm sorry. FTX US bailed out of BlockFi Incorporated, a digital asset lender with $400 million credit after BlockFi took a $80 million hit from bad Three Arrows debt. Alameda extended a $500 million emergency credit line to crypto brokerage Voyager Digital Limited. Despite the injection of capital, Voyager went under. Side note, Alameda didn't have that money. Going on. Ultimately, none of the investments panned out. Like I said before, Alameda didn't have that money. Alameda had borrowed money to make investments, then got FTX to bail it out to help make payments on those loans, which is the acquisition of those other assets. They would acquire those other distressed assets, inflate the value, and then borrow money based on the inflated value. If it sounds like a big Ponzi scheme, it's because it is. Sam used customer deposits to fund Alameda's bailout without the permission of those customers. Alameda's loan to Voyager was wiped out once the brokerage firm filed for bankruptcy. To help prop up Alameda and its failed investments, Sam transferred at least $4 billion from FTX to Alameda in 2022. What cash did FTX have that was worth $4 billion that he could transfer that wasn't customer invested stock or
Customer
asset?
invested stock.
Yes.
That's the answer.
The money Sam transferred to FTX was in large part FTX customer deposits. Sam transferred these funds without using normal methods that would usually be traceable by employees outside of the inner circle. The company's books had a backdoor built in using a bespoke software. The backdoor allowed Sam to alter the company's financial records without alerting the people in the company upon information belief. Now, this is the one part. You know what's funny about this? This is the one part of the complaint where he uses this. Everything else, you know what that means? Everything else in the complaint, he has receipts.
Yeah.
Upon information and belief means I don't have receipts yet, but I'm going to get them.
I'm going to get them, and we're going to get them in discovery.
Yeah. Everything else, he has receipts. Defense, Wang and Singh controlled blah, 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 yada, yada, substantial funds. Holy shit. Misrepresentations. They went out and touted everything. I want to go through all of this. It's midnight here on the US or the East Coast. In July 2022, an FTX US employee tweeted that, quote, direct deposits from employees to FTX US are stored in individually FDIC insured bank accounts in the user's names, and that stocks are held in FDIC insured and SIPC insured brokerage accounts. The FDIC subsequently sent FTX a warning letter to stop misrepresenting the FTX accounts were FDIC insured. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That's insane.
Are you kidding me?
That is the point where, things.
Why are you not arrested? Why are you not arrested?
Yeah, I mean that's in and of itself, that's straight up fraud.
That is fraud. The 100% fraud. Are you kidding me? Even as the FTX ruse was coming undone, Sam lied about how customer assets were used to try to prevent people from withdrawing their deposits. On November 7th, I've made comments about this. Sam tweeted that FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. Lie. Fucking liar. Liar. We don't invest client assets, even in treasuries. Also lie, you piece of shit. He said this while knowing FTX had sent billions of dollars in customer deposits to Alameda. Sam publicly claimed Alameda and FTX were wholly separate entities. Even after using a backdoor to send billions of FTX customer funds to Alameda, Ellison similarly represented that Alameda and FTX were kept at arm's length and that Alameda received the same treatment from FTX as any other exchange, even after having illicitly received billions of FTX customer funds. This is the game they're playing right now. They're playing the game of Ellison had her dominion, I had mine. And we had no idea what was going on between the two. The thing is, people joke at this as law firms as being a what quote unquote Chinese firewall. It's a bad joke. I get it. But it's basically a faux firewall. It doesn't really exist. You can see through it, you can access it, you can go through it. All of these things exist. You can see these things. We are not idiots. I'm sorry.
I mean, law firms can be really careful about this.
Well, they will
things
section
like,
off. They will partition their servers.
Oh, I've seen law firms do things like we have two separate networks
and offices.
And
yes,
the people working on this file are not allowed to associate or communicate with anyone else. And in fact, I've seen them rent like office space in an entirely different building. You know, just to maintain a firewall between like this file and everybody else. I mean, I've seen them say basically the lawyers working on this work on nothing else right now.
Yes. And you know what? You know what's not happening? The lawyers are not living together and communicating all the time.
Yeah, they would never do that with, you know, people who are sleeping together.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I'm sorry, but the whole like you have your life, etc. Not when you're dealing with client property and client assets.
Yeah,
the company and the law firm has 100% right to say, nope. If you are sleeping together, you tell me now, and if you are, I'm not going to fire you. You are completely safe, but you're not working on this file.
Yep, that's exactly it. You're not fired, but you know you are not eligible to work on this file where we need the firewall.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So, and the reason why is that the consequences of screwing that up are tremendous. Like
as we are seeing right now.
Well, I mean, in the legal sphere, the consequences of screwing up that firewall are tremendous.
So wait, why? The reason why is that you cannot give, if I have access to the inner workings of one company and know the inner financial workings and things that are going on, and another company could possibly at some point in time be opposed to the interests of the company that I am representing.
Yeah.
They cannot have access to those internal dialogues.
Yeah.
It is inherently prejudicial. They have to be distinct. So you have to create a firewall that prevents any knowledge from passing from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Based on the potential conflict, not even real conflict. If real conflict exists, you're disqualified as counsel. You actually have to give the file away.
Yep. And I mean, sometimes this comes up in criminal law where you've got like, let's say you've got a husband and wife who are both accused of a break and enter. And so long as you can potentially represent both, so long as their interests are the same.
Yes.
But within that like dual representation relationship, I have no privilege as between husband and wife. Husband tells me something, I got to tell wife. And if a conflict arises between them, I have to fire both. Not one, not the other, both have to go. And it's happened to me where I was like, yeah, I'll represent the two of you because you're equal in interest. And one of them says, well, I'm going to turn on the other. And it's like, okay, but you're both finding new lawyers now.
And the reason why it's in law firms is that law firms, we are protected by privilege, which means that clients have to have absolute trust in us to be able to keep their information safe under privilege. So we and other financial institutions are treated as a special class because we have very, very, very good access. Well, we have all access to all of your very critical information. So,
oh, I mean, the
yeah.
stuff I know about some clients.
We don't have to talk about it.
I mean, I'm not going to give details, but just in terms
everything.
of like the level of detail, some of the time you've got a client who tells you something that could absolutely destroy them, and it's just like that is information that the world will never hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and Julia, I was not calling that out as a negative. 100%. I love it. It was a good question. It was a very good question. That's why I pulled it up. In December of 2021, and again in May of 2022, Sam testified for the Congress, taking the position that FTX was in favor of regulatory oversight. He also said later in DMs that those were lies. On October 19th of 2022, Sam tweeted that, quote, "We need regulatory oversight and customer protection, and we should establish regulation." But after he stepped down as CEO, Sam admitted that claiming to want regulation was just PR and said regulators. I like that he actually did the whole F thing. Like he didn't like type it out in a complaint. You can say it in court to make a point, but typing it, risky.
I mean, the thing is that so long as it's a quote, you can say anything in court.
Correct. But when you go to the article itself and the tweet itself, why not put it in his mouth and not your own?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you try, but sometimes you got to put it in your own mouth too.
True.
I had a guy who refused to admit that he'd said the N-word because he was playing a crappy game because he actually dropped the full word with the hard R. So he's like, I didn't say the N-word. He said the word. So I had to drop the word in court. I didn't enjoy that.
It's not comfortable. It's really
not comfortable at all. But he made me do it, and it didn't work out for him.
And you look at
the thing is, there's shitty game. Yeah,
there's a moment you look at the judge, and the judge knows you're going to do it, and you're like, you look at the judge, you don't have to say a word, and the judge kind of looks at you back, and you're like, I know I have to do this. Oh, Lindsay, coming in hot.
It's even worse when you're doing it in front of a black judge.
No, and you didn't read the thing because it was that much worse. It was that much worse.
I kind of
sometimes you got to put it in your own mouth too. Okay, all right.
I get quoted on that.
You are
for like forever.
Regulators, they make everything worse. This, too, was a lie that Sam told. Sam and his inner circle perpetuated in order to make consumers feel safe depositing their money in FTX. All these misrepresentations had the goal of tricking customers into believing depositing money on the FTX was a safe and easy way to get into crypto, rather than a scheme implemented by FTX or by Sam and the inner circle to funnel money to Alameda. So basically, here's where we're going to get, and I'll start speeding through this stuff. In November, CoinDesk runs a story about a balance sheet that shows bad things. People start complaining or questioning whether there's a liquidity issue. This starts getting reported. A rival exchange starts tweeting that they want out. They start selling off the asset that FTX had created. They start selling it off in such an extent that people start making a run on FTX and asking for their money back.
Whoops.
Well, that's when FTX and Sam had to face the music. No liquidity. And then Sam tweets out his infamous tweet, November 7th. Sam tweets, FTX is fine. Assets are fine. FTX has enough to cover all client holdings. We don't invest client assets, even in client treasuries.
Whoops.
Those are going to live in infamy for quite some time. And I am sorry, Sam, but no matter how many times you try to go back and delete them from the internet always remembers. So on November 8th, Sam announces that Binance is going to be taking over FTX, but that deal falls through over quote unquote, well, after what? Liquidity issues. Basically, they realize the balance sheets are shit, which creates an even further run on FTX. When you're proposing a sale and that sale falls through, people then realize, oh shit, get money out now. And they pulled money out and there was no money to pull out. 2 days later, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 3 days later, Alameda, FTX US files for bankruptcy the day Sam resigns. Then he goes on his statement about how he never should have filed bankruptcy, etc., etc. If I have to actually spell out the fraud part of this, you haven't been listening, because
It's all
literally it is everything. The fact that this complaint was 15 pages of facts and like 3 pages of actual like restating of the actual like elements is enough. You don't need more.
Yeah.
This is the biggest fraud you could imagine, like beyond belief.